Hi, this is Mrs. Dowell, and I would like to show you today a method of factoring that is referred to as bottoms up. This was a real popular method of factoring because there was a song, maybe 5, 6 years ago called Bottoms Up, and it was real popular. So, so we're going to start out with this first polynomial right here, which is 7x squared plus 2x minus 5. And I'm going to walk you through the process of factoring this using bottoms up. Now, the first thing I want to point out to you is that the number in front of the x squared is not 1, and none of the coefficients 7, 2, or 5 have a GCF. So those are the first two things that you want to look for. Bottoms up works very well when the first term is something other than 1, as well as making sure that none of these coefficients have a greatest common factor. If they do, then you can just factor that out and continue with the method. But the process works like this. You're going to take the 7 and you're going to multiply it by the -5, and you're going to rewrite your problem as x squared plus 2x minus 35. So that would be 7 times -5. And if you'll notice, we left out the 7 down here on the second step, and then we did the 7 times the -5, and we got -35. So at this point, many of you are very familiar with how to go about factoring this kind of problem. So you are looking for two numbers that multiply to give you -35 and adds to give you 2. And so sometimes it's pretty complicated and you have to look for a long time. In this example, it's not too terribly bad. You just want to make sure that you have the correct signs, because you need two numbers that will multiply to be a negative and will add to be a positive. So when you think you have found the two numbers, just check. Check to see if you add these two numbers right here, do you get positive 2? And if you multiply them, do you get -35? And if you do, then great, you're ready to proceed on. So these two numbers, 7 and -5, are going to be our key numbers that we're going to put. And we got these two numbers by checking to make sure that they multiply to be -35 and adds to be positive 2. So at this point, you're basically factoring like one of the traditional factorings that you did back in Algebra 1, where you would take the two numbers that you got, the 7 and the -5, and you would just make a binomial and a binomial here, and you would put the 7 and the 5. Does it matter which order? No, it does not. You could put x minus 5 or you could put x plus 7. Okay, from this point, what we're going to do is we're just going to check to make sure that we have, in fact, factored this x squared plus 2x minus 35 correctly. It's very easy to make a mistake over here in this x. Very easy to do that. So we're just going to do a quick foiling to make sure that we have factored correctly. And so when you FOIL this, you write down the two binomials, and you're going to first, outer, inner, last. So first is x squared, the outer is -5x, the inner is 7x, and the last is -35. So you can see that that simplifies to x squared plus 2x minus 35. So this means to us that, in fact, yes, we did factor this second polynomial correctly. So factoring and FOILing are kind of like adding and subtracting. Factoring and foiling are opposite operations of each other. Now that we have determined that we have factored it correctly, now we've got to go back and we've got to bring this 7 back into the picture. At the very beginning, we multiplied the 7 by the -5, and so that kind of blew things up. And now we're going to divide. So we're going to take this second term, the two factors that we got, 7 and -5, whatever this number was right here, this first number, you're just going to divide by 7, divide by 7. Now, if this can be reduced, then do so. But if it cannot be reduced, that is where you will do the bottoms up. So you can see 7 divided by 7 reduces to 1. And then in this case, the 5/7 does not reduce. So because of that, we go bottoms up. And we write that as 7x minus 5 and x plus 1. Now that is a quick and dirty method for how to factor a polynomial that has the leading term is not 1, and that none of the 3 coefficients have a greatest common factor. And once again, we're just going to do a quick FOIL here to make sure that we did, in fact, factor our original problem. And I'm going to use a box in this example for how to FOIL. Many of you need this, this box, this visual aid to help you see how to FOIL. So I create a box. I put my x plus 1 over here on the left and my 7x minus 5. I'm just going to fill this box in as if it were a Punnett square. So this is 7 times x is 7x. X times -5 is -5x. 7x times 1, 7x. And then -5 times 1 is -5. And then the two diagonals usually end up being like terms. And so you can see that we're just going to write all these terms out. But since 7x and -5x are like terms, I'll just combine them. And I get 7x squared plus 25 minus 5. And that is what I originally was supposed to factor. Okay, so this is the quick and dirty of how to do factoring using bottoms up. None of the 3 coefficients have a common factor. Please look for that first. And the leading term is 7. Okay, I hope you find that this has been helpful.